of the legs!
Stroking my dick, I got lotion on my dick right now. I'm just stroking my shit. I'm horny as fuck, man. I'm a freak.
Darktide's new class is pretty fun. Arbites. Hold on, give me just a...
There's certainly some bite to their cyber mastiffs, but they'll arrest you pretty quickly, unless you call them the Adeptus Arbites.
Arbites is the new kid on the rancid decaying block, and holy has this guy come to play. I wasn't really sure how you'd add a new character to the game that already has the shooty guy, the melee guy, magic guy, and the big guy. Still, Rotund Fish has managed to add a genuinely fun and competitively viable element to the roster of rejects. What makes the Arbites really shine though isn't just the gameplay. I mean, it's kind of the gameplay. It's the lore. See, the Warhammer 40k universe is incredibly vast and power scales itself to no end. Every fight comes down to who's on the cover of the book and has the most named characters fighting for them. But the Arbites aren't operating on this scale. These aren't post-human giants traversing through the stars in a fraternity where everyone calls each other
Brothers! 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 Legs, mate!
Well, alright, look, while the Space Marines can be found fighting in the pits of hell, I mean sometimes literally, Arbites are found throughout the Imperium as a form of galactic police force, which is there to uphold the will of the Lex on all human-settled planets. The Lex, by the way, is essentially the word of God, believed to be the words of the Emperor himself, but in addition to this is every single law passed since his entombment 10,000 years ago. In fact, some of these laws are scribbled in languages so old as to make them incomprehensible to man in the 41st millennium. Truly a dystopian mirror reflected from our own world. It doesn't really matter though, as advancements in technology mean the Adeptus Arbites have found a way for a functional lobotomite like yourself to uphold the Lex. If it isn't built in the image of God, or looks too much like a god, it probably needs to die. Keep in mind, the Arbites are not enhanced like Space Marines are. You are just John Everyman with a bit too much love for the 2000 AD comics, now charged with restoring the peace in what is quickly becoming a hellscape. That's precisely where you'll find yourself when you boot up Darktide, a first-person co-op horde shooter where the goal is to face increasingly desperate odds as you purge your way through Tertium Hive at the behest of the secret police. I mean, at least that's what the base cast of Rejects are doing. The Grand Twink and his Inquisitorial Rosette are great at keeping them in line with a vice-like grip on their shaft. But like a Sump Rat Joy Girl, that's all he's good at, as the hive below is still blighted by Nurgle's stench and besieged on all sides by the rot. Unfortunately, this means the tithe is at an all-time low, and someone has finally taken notice. Because in the grimdark future of the 41st millennium, tax evasion is synonymous with heresy, and anyone who disagrees will be forcibly servitorized.
Won't you help me? Please?
The military-industrial complex must be fed, and the last thing you want is a tax refund. So the hive must be purged of heretical block fodder, then reconsecrated and repopulated. That's where you come in. A dogmatic sociopath and his service dog unleashed on the hive. You're here for one reason and one reason only: restore order by any means necessary, and uphold the Lex. Over the course of a 2-year lifespan, we've seen multiple overhauls to the game's mechanics, but this is the first time a new class has been added. The Arbites are an extremely recognizable faction within the Imperium. With enough firepower to stop anything short of an actual Astartes, wading into combat with their trusty cyber mastiff at their heels, this class brings a hybrid brawl tank playstyle that just feels good.
I am the legs!
Look, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This is the pits. Everything and its dog wants to kill you down here. Police officers in a civil rights protest feel safer than you should at any given moment in the tetanus-infested walls of Tertium Hive. I mean, that's just the location. If the architecture doesn't collapse on you, and it probably will, rest assured the locals will. Let's just take a brief look at a few of the more popular infractions routinely committed by the local populace. Now, one can't talk about the class without the guy plastered next to them on every promotional pict. The Cyber Mastiff is a companion, and in many ways the other half of the class. The dog will run and attack independently of you like a pit bull named Princess next to a kindergarten with an open gate, or can be manually tasked with mauling the populace of Tertium Hive by pinging the Lex Breaker twice. This will send your friends on stemmed pocket rocket on a beeline to their vital organs. I cannot overstate how immensely fun it is to hurl your Mastiff through a horde of poxwalkers to hit a single gunner at the back like you're playing Wii bowling. Our monstrous Mastiff also has a jealous side in that they will spin kick any other dog at the park that gets a little too friendly with us. The only issue with our trusty sidearm is that the Mechanicas put a bit too many motor units in their legs, which tends to lead them to cannon off ledges trying to tackle a single human-sized enemy. No matter, as they utilize totally not warp travel to appear back at your side within moments, like the loyal companions they are. Now look, when I said the dog was half the class, I meant it. Multiple nodes on the RBT's talent tree are dedicated to this carousing canine. So far so that one of the grenade options you can take involves treating your dog like a quad bike in Battlefield 4 and turning them into a mobile IED. This doesn't hurt the dog. Probably. But our fluffy little war crime isn't the only reason the class hits different. Let's talk about you, the actual trooper, because the RBTs aren't just dog chuckers. Yeah, that sounds like a slur. Can I actually say that? Furnished in jet black carapace armor and sporting definitely not civilian-grade weaponry provided by the Ministorum, the Arbitrators are walking walls of armor-plated resentment ready to be deployed to your nearest low-income neighborhood. Between the stun rounds, the full-body tackles, and more stagger than is legal in the state of California, you are essentially a mobile checkpoint with zero patience. All put together, their kit allows them to hold the line in ways the Ogryn only wishes he could. No offense, big guy. To be fair, I'd take a sump jump too if my base cosmetics had to compete with this. On that note, let's talk gear, because a badge doesn't mean much to the undead illiterate. While this class has access to a lot of the offensive armory the rejects have been using since launch, the RBTs also brings 4 new base weapons to the roster that only they have access to. Their signature shotgun is the Exterminator, which comes in 2 flavors, fuck 'em here or fuck 'em there, utilizing the Mark III duckbill and Mark VIII choke variants respectively. If you're a fan of CC on demand, the alt fire of the gun will load a special taser shot, which honestly doesn't feel like it loses any of the lethality of the regular buckshot. And if these somehow weren't enough for you, let me introduce you to the Shot Pistol and Riot Shield, a high caliber hand cannon wedded to an inch of steel that will give you unparalleled protection while you blow the heads off anyone stupid enough to think they can trade ranged blows. The exclusive guns the RBTs brings to the table aren't going to see you sniping the heads off of poxwalkers at 1,000 meters like Brother Sergeant Kyle, but they will do it at just about any ranges you can find yourself engaged at. In a worst case scenario, you can ping enemies at any range, so you can always fall back on being a... One of the biggest strengths of these weapons isn't even their stat lines or breakpoints, it's just how good they feel to use. Stout Whale have really done weapons a great justice in Darktide, as most of them not only perform well, but match that performance in animations and sound effects. This pistol, for instance, obliterates the walking corpses in front of you, and as feedback for firing, you're met with a wrist-snapping jerk of recoil and a reverberating crack as the trigger is pulled. It's a hand cannon in every sense of the word. The shotgun has a weighty thump behind every round that gives you a real sense of how catastrophically that poxwalker's internal and external organs are about to fail. Or perhaps something a little more refined for you animation enjoyers. Even when reloading something like a revolver, your character will hold in shells which haven't been fired yet for a more efficient reload, and it's just little details like this which go a long way to making the gameplay loop that much more enjoyable. Trading ranged fire is always a treat, but rarely will you find Nurgle Demonspawn with enough brains left to understand how a firing mechanism operates. So for all those pesky Lex Breakers who think melee is the safest range to engage you at, You also get access to shock mauls, which are perfect for beating the populace back in line. 15,000 volts is pretty persuasive. But you might still be worried the block fodder is going to scuff your purity seals, and have I got the solution for you? See, you can trade out your shock maul for a slightly smaller variant, which will allow you to pick up a shield in your offhand, turning you into a one-man Vatican-backed riot squad.
Judgment comes for you.
Side note that the riot shield appears linked to its sidearm, so if you bring both of these, your character actually brings two separate shields and hides one in a pocket dimension, which kind of just solidifies what a mentally damaged and unhinged individual the Arbitrator is. A true empathetic proxy for you, the player. Now before I talk builds, I should say that everyone is different in how they like to play the game. The base classes alone allow for massive variations in how you engage with what Darktide has to throw at you. So how does our new dogmatic maniac fit into this rabble? How can you build them? And what do they even do? Let's be completely real. Most of us aren't hardcore gamers who are grinding Havoc 40 runs. We don't actually play the game to the point where we would go looking into how specific values translate to actual performance. Hell, I'd wager most of us will just parrot the build of someone who has, so that in the few hours we play the game, when we choose to open it, we get to play something that performs. A little tangent to the side, if I'm being honest, the more I learn about the mechanics of this game, the deeper I realize the iceberg goes and just how far others have already explored it. They show that to play consistently at the highest difficulties requires intimate knowledge of the game, weapons, swing pattern combos, perks and blessings, map knowledge, and therein lies the beauty of this class. While knowing all of this and engaging with it is its own kind of fun, the Arbitrator is, ironically enough, a very forgiving experience where the raw strength of the class can make up for this lack of knowledge. While certain classes may have insane feats they can achieve when built for, player skill can still lead to a dumpster fire performance in the field, which this class mitigates. Okay, tangent is over, we are now talking builds. So how do you build your Arbitrator? I am so glad you asked. Seriously man, however the fuck you want. There are a few emerging in the current build of the game. No, seriously, you could lobotomize a monkey with room temperature IQ and they would make a viable build. Yeah, so the powerful pooch is correct. The class is blessed with an excellent talent tree, which means in order to make the build you want, you can reach your favorite nodes easily without being forced to spend your hard-earned talent points on nodes you'd rather leave at home. So let's talk some fun builds you can run. Want to cosplay a canine unit? We'll go full Animal Planet on this. That dog whisperer never understood how to train him anyway. We are pumping this guy full of friends on and give him bionic legs capable of producing 84 horsepower. Then we just aim our vibrating mass of man's best friend at the nearest Lex breaker. You are full specking into the dog. I'm talking armor shredding bites, dog nade, and any other dog buff nodes we care to grab. Even our class ability can be augmented to buff our barking blender. Now to state the obvious, the dog is fun, but while it can't die, you can. So let's fix that. There are plenty of talents available to make our Arbitrator as invincible as their companion, kinda stupidly so. We stack our toughness and toughness regen, make it nearly impossible to run out of stamina, and take castigator stance as a last resort panic button. You will never be the one panicking though. If you're worried about damage output, don't. When I say we're built like a tank, I mean one of these. Now look, we've had our fun. It's time to make sure nobody else has any. They gave us a control tank, and in return I broke their ankles, flashbanged them, and set up an elaborate minefield around their home. Playing the fun police is not just a build, it is a lifestyle choice that you inflict on others. Load your taser rounds, use shock mines, build maximum stagger, and physically barrel into those slobbering Pokemon scalper types. If you want to change it up a bit, take the augment to the Nuncio Aquila that slows enemy attack speed, because the most optimal way to engage in combat is to ensure your opponent can't fight back. I've put the main nodes you'd want for these builds in each of the sections, but you could build anything around them. Hell, even mix and match some of them, that's how versatile the class is. If something doesn't feel good, swap it out. See what other people are building on their Arbitrator, and if they're all taking the same node, it's probably pretty good. I'm not an expert on the game, but I can clear Oryx and Maelstroms pretty consistently and have done with all of these thematic builds, so I can at least say they work up to there. At the end of the day though, play what's fun to you. If winning is the most fun you have, then play the game on uprising difficulty, you don't need to spend nearly $15 to do that. If not, read the nodes, build a tree, and take it for a spin. There's no need to overthink it. The class is really strong. Most classes can be too. but they usually only get 1 or 2 specific builds that can mince through the game's challenges. The Arbitrator gets the luxury of having lots of ways to build and be competitive all the way to the top of the mountain at Havoc 40. I'm going to end it off by saying this is some of the most fun I've had in Darktide in a very long time. So if you've just been sitting on the fence or took a break from the game, this is the perfect time to kick back in, as Darktide has had multiple quality of life changes, entire overhauls to system mechanics, there's been new content added, the story has been streamlined, and we even have a shiny new class to play around with. So grab a friend or two, boot up the game, and remember, body cams off.